Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli, and I'm done ranting about white privilege and Kyle Rittenhouse and all that stuff. Something my grandmother would not have wanted me to do. So, why am I talking about my grandmother? Well, today would have been her 96th birthday. Today is November 20th, and there's so much going on that I think she would have really enjoyed that I am doing, and that would have celebrated her birthday better than any gift I could have given her. For example, uh, doing a hockey podcast. I think she really would have liked that. I also, today, I am adopting a cat. My mom is helping me with this. It's a cat a lot like the cat I have now, Boba, and we haven't named this one yet. But she looks a lot like Boba, and she's in the same situation where not sure if she's adoptable, not sure if she might have to go back to the feral colony or where she will end up. So we're taking a chance on her. She's back in Dante's room right behind me. She's caged, but we're going to give her a couple days to let Boba get used to her used to her new home. And then we'll just try gradually making her part of our family. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope we can do it. We did it with Boba. Sorry, I'm chewing gum like a slob. Something my grandmother probably would not have liked. But she would have liked that we were adopting a cat and trying to make a part of our home. Grandma was a big cat and dog person. She's one of those people. She was both, just like my mom, just like me. So I come from a long line of people that like both cats and dogs. They both have great person. Each of them has their own little gift to give you. They all have their own personalities and traits, and so I come to love them all. Um, and then tonight is also a big night for comedy. I think Grandma would have been happy that I was doing comedy. I didn't start doing comedy until like about a year and a half before she died. So I think she knew I was doing it, but she didn't see me doing it. But I was always, trying to make her laugh and have fun with her and watch hockey with her. It was one of the last things we did before she died. But yeah, tonight. So in addition to doing comedy tonight, which I think she would like, the New York Islanders are opening their new stadium, their new arena, and that's really cool that they had to do their first 13 games on the road. I know I've mentioned this in the past when I talk about hockey, but I mean, the stadium wasn't done yet, so they had to, or the arena wasn't done yet, so they've had to wait, play their first 13 games on the road. Tonight is their first home game against Calgary, and I love that it's on my grandmother's birthday. So we'll talk about my grandma some more because this is what this is 10 minutes is about. Um, I remember a lot of wonderful things about her. When I was born in New York, near where she lived in Huntington Station. I was born in Huntington Hospital, New York. And as I grew up, I got to know her, that wonderful property on 190 Iceland Drive. I'll always remember that address. Mom would take me there often, probably weekly. I'm guessing. I don't remember because I was little, but the things I do remember is just this seemingly endless backyard. Now I'd probably go back there as an adult and say, why did I think that was so big? But because I was a kid. And so I remember she always had dogs and a wonderful backyard with that old, like, really old school fencing. It wasn't very processed wood. It was like almost looked like spikes of wood, and they're fitted together, and it was very rustic looking. Huge oak trees in the back, and always it felt like there were always leaves on the ground, and sometimes you'd see a little toad back there, and moss and grass, and it was very Long Island was very moist, so it was always nice to go there. Grandma would always make me ice cream sodas, which were perfect. She made them perfect. She knew exactly the amount of ice cream and soda and milk to add, and they were wonderful. It was great. And she had this wonderful assortment of dogs that I remember with the goofiest names. No, because they couldn't find a name. They were calling her No Name, so they called her No. Kind of one of those shepherd mixed dogs that you see all the time. Another dog named Blackie, and then Imp. And Imp truly looked like an imp. If you could combine Yoda and a dog, I think you'd get Imp. She was an ugly little thing, but she was a sweetheart. Later on, when she moved here in 1993, that was nice to have her close. My mom was able to be there for her, the last like 17 years of her life, so that was nice. And she lived in Terra Village for a while. A lot of people that know me and know the Wheat Ridge Edgewater area know Terra Village. She had a cat there. She had a couple cats. One named Puss, who was huge, just a huge fat cat. And then I think she called the other one Baby. I might call this one Baby too, because then we'd have Boba and Baby, but we'll see. But I think it was a feral, and I don't even know if she could touch it. But that cat I'd almost never see that cat. She was always under my grandmother's bed. But That was one of grandma's reclamation projects. Um, that she took this cat was living, I think, in a hole or somewhere near an air conditioning unit when she was at Terra Village. Then when she moved to Edgewater Plaza, my mom, I think, and her caught the cat or trapped it, brought it over and made it her pet because she knew this cat wouldn't do well without her supporting it. She was always feeding it and trying to make it a house cat. Um, I remember a lot of hockey with my mom or my grandmother and my he wasn't technically my grandfather. He was my step grandfather. His name was Poppy, and he was Canadian and he was a war veteran, and he also played hockey. And it was funny because I'd go there sometimes. We'd visit every year. And I remember in the early '80s when the Islanders were really good, when they won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. They would My grandmother and Poppy would get into it a little bit, especially if because my Poppy was a Rangers fan and grandmother was an Islanders fan, and they are bitter New York rivals. So it was a lot of fun watching them kind of give each other a hard time during those games. What else? I mean, so much to remember about grandma. She lived in upstate New York in a place called Kingston, which isn't too far from Woodstock. I remember going up there, and she was wonderful to my to Poppy as he died back in 1986. He had unfortunately colon cancer, which spread to his spine. He was in horrible pain, and my grandmother did a great job taking care of him until he died. And then after that, she spent several years up there, and then decided, not too many of her friends or family were around anymore. So that was when she came out and joined us in '93. Um, Other things I remember about grandma. Another amazing thing about my grandmother, and I know all this through my mom, and my mom is equally amazing. Has done great things as a mother, but my paternal grandfather ditched out when my grandmother was like, when my mom was like 3, I think 2 or 3. So my grandmother was a single mother. She got a lot of help from my great grandmother, my great aunt, and other family members and friends. And my mom tells me a lot of great stories about them living above a bar called Schlumpy's. It doesn't get any more New York than that. There's a dude named Schlumpy that owns a bar. Well, that's if I were talking like it was 1950. But so mom just had a lot of good memories of grandma, and so do I. I'm trying to think of some more specifics. I think I've mentioned this in a past video, how I wasn't there, and I wish I had been when the Titanic was released, the big one with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. She got up at the end of the credits, said, "That's the worst movie I've ever seen." Just yelled it at the screen, and my mom and my brother and my stepdad are like, "Oh my!" So she was pretty cool. Another memory I have of her, hockey-based memory, is when she was in hospice in her apartment, and my half brother Sean did a great job stepping up and helping her through that. My mom did an amazing job. My stepdad, everybody helped out. I didn't get to do it as much because I was living at that point on the other side of town in Aurora, and grandma was at Edgewater Plaza in hospice, and this is her third bout with cancer, and I think her second bout with bladder cancer. And at 84, she was just kind of done. And you can only battle for so long, and you can only be hard and tough for so long. And eventually, life just ends. I mean, it ends for all of us. And she had a great long life and did a lot of really cool stuff. She was also a great caregiver. She worked in a nursing home for a long time. I know she did secretarial stuff when my mom was growing up, and she was always supporting my mother and making a living. And even when she was married with my with Poppy, she made money and contributed. And she's kind of hot too. I know this is weird for a grandson to say, but I look at the old pictures of her, especially versus my grandmother on my dad's side, way hotter. Grandma Jeanne, you were hot, so good for you. But I'll leave you with this. One of my favorite memories of her, one of the most amazing hockey series in the history of hockey. It was back in 2010. It was the playoffs, and the Boston Bruins had taken a 3-0 lead on the Philadelphia Flyers, 3-0. Philadelphia came flying back, hence their name, tied the series at 3. Final game 7, Boston is up 3-0 in that game. Philadelphia comes back to tie it and win it. So it's from the deepest of deficits. So I watched that game with my grandmother's hand in my hand, and it was great. And she would squeeze my hand and let me. I would like tell her I'm coming back, but she would sense, I was like, I'm just going to the bathroom, Grandma. I'm coming back. And so she died on a beautiful sunny morning on May 16th, 2010. Luckily, I heard my parents up as I had fallen asleep because we were expecting her to die, and it was around 4 in the morning, I think, or 2 in the morning when I fell asleep. My mom got up early. And I heard my mom and my stepdad come back from Starbucks, and they were bringing coffee for me, which was very nice, and for themselves too. And I heard one of them say, "I think she's gone," and I was like, "Oh man!" So I ran. I said, "Grandma, I love you. Thank you for everything." And she took one last breath, and it felt like it was for me. It was a big deal. And she would just one little last suck, and I'm sorry, I get a little emotional about it because it was a big deal. But it felt like she did that for me, and I know how special I was to her. I hope she always knew how special she was to me. All right, guys, sorry, getting all teary-eyed. Got my cowboy shirt. I'm going to go down and tell some jokes, so I'm not going to get too down now. But happy birthday, Grandma. Wish you were still around. You lived a good, long life. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye.